There comes a point in every pursuit, whether romantic, professional, or social, when something shifts. At first, you're the one reaching out, offering your time, your energy, your soul. But gradually, a crack appears within, a silent ache that becomes hard to ignore. Your presence begins to fade into the background, and your kindness is met with indifference. How often have you confused access with connection? How many times have you poured your heart into people who only turned toward you when they needed to feel wanted? You've told yourself that consistency is strength, but sometimes it's nothing more than a mask for fear. Fear of being forgotten, of facing the painful truth that maybe, just maybe, they never valued you in the first place. This is the crux of emotional mastery, a skill that the Stoics understood well. For them, pulling away, choosing yourself, and standing still while others drift isn't weakness. It's wisdom. When you stop chasing, when you let the silence speak for you, the people who once overlooked you begin to unravel in your absence. The Stoic path teaches us that true peace comes not from external validation, but from inner strength and clarity. It's about breaking free from the pursuit that drains you and returning to the center of your own being. When you stop chasing approval, when you stop running after fleeting connections, you reclaim your power. In this quiet space, you begin to understand that emotional outsourcing, seeking validation from others, only robs you of your own narrative. You give others the pen to write your story, and the Stoics warn us of this self-mastery. Not dependence is the key to freedom. One, control what you can, let go of what you can't. In every situation, whether it's a small disagreement or a major life event, you must ask yourself, what can I control? The Stoics remind us that it's not the external events that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When you take responsibility for how you respond to life's challenges, you reclaim your emotional sovereignty. This is the foundation of emotional mastery. Example, imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. You can't control their behavior, but you can control your reaction. You can choose to let it go, choosing calm over chaos, peace over frustration. 2. Detach from external validation. When you pour into others, whether through love time or attention, and those efforts go unappreciated, it's easy to feel unseen, unimportant, or undervalued. The Stoics remind us that we should never rely on external validation for our self-worth. Instead, we must cultivate our sense of value internally. When you stop chasing, when you stop seeking constant affirmation, you begin to live in alignment with your own values. The people who genuinely appreciate your presence will find you, and the ones who don't, well, their absence becomes a gift, a lesson in understanding what really matters. 3. Shift from dependence to devotion. The Stoics warn us against becoming emotionally dependent on others. We often confuse devotion with dependence, thinking that our unrelenting efforts will somehow guarantee loyalty or love. But when we give too much, expecting nothing in return, we lose balance. The more we give, the more others may take without reciprocating, and this creates an unhealthy dynamic where our emotional well-being is entirely outsourced. Example, when your efforts feel unreciprocated, whether in a relationship or at work, it's time to stop and evaluate the balance. Are you offering out of genuine devotion or out of need? The difference is subtle but profound. 4. Cultivate self-respect, not self-doubt. In a world that constantly pushes us to prove our worth, the Stoics urge us to find our value within. By recognizing the inherent worth we possess, we stop chasing others for affirmation. Self-respect is not the same as arrogance. It's a deep understanding of our own value without needing others to validate it. 5. Live according to your own principles, not the world's. The external world often imposes its standards on you, expectations of success, love, or happiness. The Stoics remind us that we should live by our own principles, not the whims of society. This is not to say we should reject all external input, but rather we must be grounded in our own values and remain true to ourselves, regardless of external pressures. Example, a person might criticize your life choices or career path. Instead of reacting defensively, ask yourself, does this criticism align with my values? If it doesn't, let it go. The opinions of others don't dictate your worth. 6. Master your emotions. Don't let them master you. The Stoics didn't aim for emotional suppression, they aimed for emotional mastery. This means acknowledging your feelings without letting them control your actions. It's about detaching from emotional reactions and responding with rationality, rather than being swept away by momentary feelings of anger, fear, or sadness. Example: if you feel jealousy when someone else succeeds, don't act out of envy. Instead, acknowledge the feeling and ask yourself, what does this reveal about my own desires or insecurities? By turning the focus inward, you gain greater control over your emotions. 7. Embrace the power of choice. One of the most empowering aspects of Stoic thought is the belief that we always have a choice. Even when external circumstances are beyond our control, we can always choose how to respond. Choice is power. By embracing this truth, we shift from being victims of circumstance to empowered agents of our own lives. Example: you lose your job, something entirely outside of your control, but you can choose how to respond. You can choose to see it as a setback or as an opportunity for growth and reinvention. 8. The wisdom of silence and presence. When things are shifting, when the people around you start pulling away, it's easy to feel the need to chase after them, to keep reaching out. The Stoics, however, understood that silence can be a powerful tool. Instead of chasing, stand still. Choose yourself. In your stillness, you become the center of your own world, and others will either rise to meet you or drift away. 9. Do not attach yourself to outcomes. The Stoics taught us to focus on the effort, not the outcome. When we tie our happiness to results, we become vulnerable to disappointment. By focusing solely on what we can control, the process, the actions, the effort, we free ourselves from the heavy burden of outcome-based happiness. Example: when you work on a project, focus on doing your best, not on the final result. The process itself becomes its own reward, and you'll find contentment regardless of whether you win or not. 10. Build resilience through adversity. The Stoics believed that challenges and hardships are not to be avoided but embraced. Adversity is not an enemy, it is a teacher. By reframing difficulties as opportunities for growth, you become resilient in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Example: when facing failure or hardship, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Adversity is the crucible that forges strength and wisdom. 11. The joy of simple living. In a society driven by excess and consumption, the Stoics advocate for simple living. They understood that true happiness does not lie in material wealth or luxury, but in living according to nature, in appreciating the small and simple joys of life. 12. Leave behind what you cannot change. Finally, the Stoics urge us to let go of what we cannot control. Holding on to things, people, or situations that are beyond our influence only causes suffering. Embrace what is, and release what was or could have been. Example: you can't change the past or control the actions of others. Instead of lamenting what you cannot alter, focus on what you can do now to move forward in a way that aligns with your values. Conclusion: the Stoic path to emotional mastery. These 12 lessons from Stoicism provide the foundation for emotional mastery, teaching us how to detach from external validation, master our emotions, and live in alignment with our own principles. By embracing Stoic wisdom, we stop chasing after fleeting connections or external approval, and instead return to the center of our own being. In this process, we reclaim our emotional sovereignty, our power, and our peace. When you begin to live with intention, understanding what you can control and accepting what you cannot, you open yourself up to a life of clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. What were your takeaways from this video? Drop a comment below. If you want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share with your friends. Thanks a ton for watching.